Welcome to the world's most peaceful military government. It's me. Welcome to my channel. Wherever you are listening from, let the day begin to fall away. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a moment to breathe in deeply and slowly release. You are about to travel gently, calmly back to another time. A time of stillness and structure. Imagine a land of rice paddies stretching as far as the eye could see, interrupted only by the slow walk of water buffalo and the occasional splash of a water festival. Winding between the paddies are narrow dirt paths, leading to neat rows of farmhouses with thatched roofs lining a valley wrapped in mist. This is Japan during the Edo period. Life here is not as legend would have it, a constant clash of swords and armor, but a long period of peace maintained by rigid order. Here, everyone's place is known, and their behavior is strictly controlled. The rhythm of life is not shaped by chaos, but by quiet obedience. Peasants bow deeply to show their backs when they pass by a samurai. Samurai stand silently at the edge of the village, allowing the villagers to pass first. Everyone moves with purpose, yet there is no hurry. They move like pieces on a chessboard, making the world feel as still and as ordered as a painting. Even the way one sits, the angle of one's hands when drinking tea, all carry weight. There is power in the quiet, power in knowing one's place. And yet there is beauty here too. Cherry blossoms falling like pink snow. Moonlight glinting off a woman's kimono as she walks home from the market. And in the evenings, fireflies dancing across the velvet sky. Tonight, we will not rush through battles or recount heroic feats. Instead, we will gently walk the winding lanes of a samurai-controlled village. We will visit a house where a young girl is preparing dinner for her family. Her movements are precise and economical. She has been trained well. We will peek into the courtyard where a woodblock printmaker works, the rhythmic tap of his chisel ringing out like a song. We will stop by the tea house, where an old man patiently teaches the delicate art of pouring tea. We will watch as he carefully washes the tea bowl, then places it on the mat in front of him. With slow, graceful movements, he pours the hot water into the bowl, the steam rising like a silent prayer. Each movement has its own beauty, its own meaning. We will not speak much. We are but ghosts walking among the living. We do not want to break the spell of this timeless place. As evening falls, the air grows cooler and the fireflies come out to dance. We will join them for a while, watching their silent ballet against the darkening sky. Then it will be time to go. We will walk back through the village, our steps echoing on the silent streets. The moon will be our only guide as we make our way home. When we wake up, we will remember this night. We will carry a piece of it with us always. The memory of a peaceful place where life moved to the rhythm of nature and humanity, where the quiet beauty of everyday life was a celebration of being alive. And we will know that even in the darkest of times, there is always beauty to be found. If we look for it, we will leave now, but we will return again and again in our memories. For this is the true Japan, the Japan of the samurai, where honor and duty were everything, where Bushido, the way of the warrior, was more than just a code of conduct. It was a way of life. But do not worry, for we have not forgotten the lessons of this time. We have learned the importance of discipline and respect. We have seen the value of tradition and the power of community. And we have experienced the beauty of a life lived in harmony with nature. So go now, samurai, and carry these lessons with you always. Let them guide you in times of darkness and be a source of strength when all seems lost. Remember the samurai way, for it is the way of the true warrior. Today, we have journeyed to a place where the echoes of history still linger. We have walked the streets of a bygone era and breathed in the atmosphere of a vanished way of life. But now it is time to awaken from our journey. Slowly open your eyes and let the present moment come into focus. Gently stretch your arms and legs. feeling the connection between your body and the earth. Take a deep breath in and out, allowing the energy of the present to fill you. Remember the lessons we have learned on our journey. Carry their wisdom with you as you navigate the complexities of modern life. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time. May the spirit of the samurai inspire you to live a life of purpose, honor, and balance. Until we meet again in our next adventure. The sun climbs higher. You wipe the sweat from your brow with a strip of cloth, thinking of the midday meal of rice gruel waiting for you at home. Your wife will have ground the wheat berries by hand, your eldest son threshed the barley, and your youngest, if he's strong enough, will have weeded the bean field. Afternoons are for fishing, returning home as the sun begins its slow journey west. Even the fish seem to know their place, darting away at the approach of your small boat. In the evening, when fireflies wink among the tall grasses, you and your family eat in silence, each picking up your wooden chopsticks with reverence. Every grain of rice is a blessing. Any left at the end of the meal is saved for your ancestors. Leftover rice is also the offering for tonight's entertainment. You live in a small house with walls of rough wood and thatched roof, a single room for sleeping, cooking, and eating. Across the way, your loom stands silent, its wooden frame patiently waiting for your wife's nimble fingers to weave another bolt of cloth for the Shogun's army. The oiled paper sliding door offers the only barrier to privacy. Behind it, your children sleep on straw mats, their thin blankets pulled tight against the night's chill. Beside them, your wife sleeps, her face peaceful, her hands folded neatly in her lap. She is beautiful even in sleep. Her fingers, though calloused from years of labor, are delicate as a crane's. You remember the day you married her, how she had laughed, her eyes sparkling like the morning star. But that was before the laughing had been beaten out of her, before the war with the Imjin forces had driven the young lord to build his army, draining every village of its men and boys. Your wife, then only 14, had been chosen as a concubine for the lord's pleasure. You had been a strong young man then, working as a carpenter. You could have easily defended her. But the village elder, a wizened old man who knew the ways of the world, had counseled patience. He told you to bide your time, wait until the war was over, and then, once the young lord had sated his needs, to ask for your wife back. It had taken 5 long years, but the elder had been right, and now you had your revenge. Your wife was yours, and only yours. The memory of her stolen years gave your work an edge to your stroke, a bolt of cloth here, a spear shaft there. And always in the back of your mind, a quiet hatred smoldered. Not for your wife, no, never for her, but for the young lord and his samurai, for the men who had taken what they wanted, who had built their lives on the suffering of others. Outside, the wind whispers through the bamboo grove, carrying with it the sound of shakuhachi flutes. Tonight, the samurai are entertaining the lord. They will drink sake and laugh, gamble and wench. Their women, like painted dolls, will dance for their amusement, all for the amusement of men who do not know the meaning of honest work, who have never planted a seed or coaxed new life from the stubborn soil. But you know something they do not. As the rice harvest wanes and winter's cold fingers begin to curl, as the huntsman returns with only a rabbit or two, while the lord grows leaner and hungrier, there will be trouble. The head of the village knows this, the old men know this, and you know it too. When the lord is desperate, he will demand more from his people. More work, more taxes, more obedience. And when the people fail to give it, he will cut deeper, taking more sons and grandsons, brothers and nephews, to swell his army and feed his insatiable ego. And so you eat your rice gruel in silence, watching the thin flame dance in the oil lamp, knowing that one day soon, you and your family will need to summon every ounce of strength and courage to survive. For inside the great castle walls, the young lord paces restlessly, clutching a fan in his hand. Outside, the peasants grow thinner and weaker. Soon, he will need to feed his army, and the fattest, strongest-looking of the villagers will be chosen. And you know that you are the strongest of them all. If you want to survive in a world like this, you learn to keep your head down and your mouth shut. Each season brings its own quiet hardship. Summer brings the heat and the mosquitoes. Winter brings the bitter winds and the thin soups. But perhaps the heaviest burden is what you never see. Each year the government requires a portion of your harvest. Not in coin, but in koku, the unit of rice that defines wealth in this world. Whether the year brought floods or drought, the quota remains the same. If you fall short, you do not eat less. You eat none. Your family might go hungry, yet the tax must still be paid. There are rules, too. Endless rules. You must dress according to your station. Speak with humility. Your village headman reports everything. One mistake, a borrowed tool not returned, a rumor of discontent, and you might be punished with forced labor, public shaming, or worse. And yet, you endure. There is beauty in the cycle of the seasons. There is honor in quiet perseverance. In the evenings, you gather with your family in your thatched home, low to the ground and smoky from the hearth. You sip hot tea made from roasted barley, listening to the wind pass through the trees. Your life is simple and small, but it is also tightly bound by the invisible strings of caste, duty, and fear. As you lie down on a straw mat to rest, the village bell tolls softly in the distance. Another day awaits tomorrow, exactly the same as the one before. Now, for most of history, the only way to change your life was to die. But not here. No, here. If you work hard and live a good life, you might just get to be reborn into a better one. Now, that's a concept as foreign to us as it is fascinating. Tell me more. The first thing you should know about this world is that there is no God here. This is a world without heaven or hell, no afterlife. When you die, you are reborn into another life. Your next life begins at the precise moment your current one ends. Nothing separates the living from the dead except the fact that they don't know it yet. Think about that for a moment. Every human being in this world is either walking dead or soon to be. The second thing you should know is that death is not the end. It is a beginning. The dead are not in a better or worse place. They are in a new life. Most will be reborn as animals, some as gods. All will be born again and again until they reach enlightenment. To be enlightened means to wake up to the truth, to realize that all life is suffering and that all things are impermanent. Only then can you escape the cycle of death and rebirth and reach nirvana. Now, some would say the path to nirvana is paved with good deeds. Well, they'd be wrong. See, in this world, you have no control over your fate. You were born a certain way, male or female, rich or poor, loved or alone. And when you die, you will be reborn in another state of being, perhaps as punishment, perhaps by chance. Your next life will be determined by your karma, which is to say the sum total of your actions in this life. Good or bad, every action creates an equal and opposite reaction. Every kindness or cruelty, every lie or truth, every prayer or sin. All of these things determine how you will be reborn. So what's a person to do? The answer, my friend, is to do everything you can to be a good person. Because even though your fate is ultimately sealed, you might as well try to make it a little more pleasant, a little less painful. After all, who wouldn't want to be reborn as a god? But why? What is it that drives these men to such extremes? To abandon everything for revenge? In a world where honor is the highest currency, where loyalty is a virtue above all others, to be a Ronin is to be damned. Without a master, a samurai has no purpose. It is worse than death. It is oblivion. Your life's work, your skills, your very identity stripped away. You are nothing. In feudal Japan, a samurai had 4 options when faced with such disgrace. The first was to end one's life quickly and with dignity through seppuku, a ritualized form of suicide. The second was to wander the land as a beggar, renouncing one's former life. The third was to become a mercenary, offering one's sword to the highest bidder. And the fourth was to plot vengeance, to bide one's time, enduring any humiliation, embracing any disguise to wait for the perfect moment to strike back. For the 47 Ronin, the first three options were unthinkable. Seppuku was out of the question. They were not gods of the underworld, but living men with living needs. To beg was beneath them, and to become mercenaries would be to betray their master's memory. Only vengeance remained. But how do you strike back when your enemy is the entire system, when your opposition is backed by the most powerful man in the land? The answer, it seems, lay in the very heart of the shogun's court. Asano's disgraced Kira, now elevated to a seat of power, basked in his victory. But he was hated by all, especially the emperor's envoys, who considered him a traitor to the court. Kira, however, was shrewd and patient. He understood the value of time. He knew that without proof of wrongdoing, no one would risk challenging him. So he waited. Meanwhile, the Ronin grew bolder, organizing secret meetings in the guise of religious ceremonies. Here they reaffirmed their vow. To bring their master honor, they trained, honing their skills, plotting strategies, preparing for the day when they would have to face Kira's forces. Their numbers swelled, too, reaching a total of 47. Now known as the 47 Rogues, these men ranged from former samurai to ordinary townspeople, united only by their desire for justice. Then came the turning point, the event that would galvanize the disparate elements into action. It began like any other night, but soon turned into chaos. Lord Kira's house was set ablaze. With the help of a spy, the 47 Ronin knew the layout of the house, the habits of its guards. Everything was planned down to the finest detail. As flames engulfed the mansion, 47 figures emerged from the shadows, swords flashing under the torchlight. Guards fell. Doors burst open. And at the center of it all stood Lord Kira, pale with fear, realizing the trap he had been ensnared in. There was no escape. Honor had come for him, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The leader of the 47 Ronin confronted Kira, demanding satisfaction for their master. But instead of fighting, Kira fell to his knees, begging for mercy. He offered gold, status, anything to save his life. But the Ronin were unmoved. Revenge was not for sale, and pity was a luxury they could not afford. The depth of Kira's despair moved even the hard-hearted samurai, but the bargain was struck, and the price was steep. Kira was forced to commit seppuku, watched over by the 47 Ronin. After the deed was done, the head of Kira Yosanaka was cut off and presented to Lord Asano's grave. The disgraced samurai had avenged their master. In the end, though, their victory was short-lived. The shogun saw the Ronin as nothing more than dangerous rebels. Most were executed, some forced into lives of homelessness. Only a few survived, forever tainted by the blood of their vengeance. The story of the 47 Ronin became a legend, a testament to the power of loyalty and the brutal realities of a world without mercy. The year is 1703. For 5 years, the streets of Japan have echoed with the quiet fury of vengeance. 5 years since a band of samurai left their master's grave and swore to bring his murderer to justice. 5 years of whispers and rumors, of plotting and preparation for tonight. Tonight, they will strike. Kira's mansion is surrounded. His guards, though numerous, are quickly overwhelmed. And as the samurai sweep through the house, they find their target. With as much dignity as vengeance can offer, they take Kira's head and carry it to their master's grave. There, in the stillness of a cold morning, they kneel, their faces pale in the moonlight, and present it as a final act of loyalty. The nation stirs with quiet awe. What should be punished? What should be honored? These men have broken the law, but upheld the Bushido code, the way of the warrior. They have followed loyalty to its end. But even so, they will face punishment. The shogunate eventually orders them to commit seppuku, a ritual suicide to atone for their crime. All 47, each one kneeling calmly in a ritual death. No protest, no cries. Just the quiet surrender to duty, as their master had done before them. Even today, their graves can be visited at Sengakuji Temple in Tokyo. Visitors often leave incense, and sometimes a folded letter. Not to the warriors they imagine from stories, larger-than-life heroes of a bygone age, but to men who lived in a world of unbearable choices, a world where silence could be deafening, and where the weight of one's honor could only be laid down in death. Their story began 5 years earlier, in the employ of Lord Asano, a young samurai whose post was a sinecure, a prestigious but essentially meaningless title that allowed him to live a life of leisure. His days were spent hunting and drinking, womanizing and gambling, and he took great pride in his role as a patron of the arts. Under his roof, poets and artists flourished, and many a destitute scholar found patronage and purpose. But not all were as fortunate as those gifted men. One such man was Oishi Kurenai, a samurai poet who had served Lord Asano's father. He lived in fear of destitution, always looking over his shoulder at the whims of his lord or the machinations of the other courtiers. For years he endured, until he became acquainted with Lord Asano's new favorite, Kira Yoshinaka, a cunning and ambitious samurai who had risen quickly in the ranks. Oishi soon discovered that Kira was a viper, ready to strike at any opportunity. When Asano was summoned to Edo Castle for a poetry reading, Kira slandered him before the shogun, falsely claiming that the lord had insulted the emperor. Lord Asano, furious and ashamed, confronted Kira, but the words would not come. Kira had anticipated this, and deliberately goaded him into a speechless rage. When Lord Asano drew his sword, Kira fell to his knees and played the obedient servant, feigning terror as the blade descended. In the eyes of the law, Asano had committed seppuku, a ritual suicide by drawing his sword against a fellow samurai without provocation. In the eyes of the court, Kira was an innocent victim, and the disgraced Lord Asano was banished from the city. In the eyes of the Bushido Code, however, Kira was a coward, and the samurai knew that only blood could avenge blood. For the next 5 years, Oishi Kurenai and 46 loyal samurai hid in the shadows, watching and waiting. They knew that they had little chance against Kira's influence, but they did have something else: patience. They waited as Kira's power grew, as his enemies multiplied, and as the years turned his enemies into liabilities. When Kira's health began to fail, they struck, taking his life and presenting his head to their master's grave. They had avenged their lord and upheld the Bushido Code, but now they must die. The shogunate saw their actions as nothing less than murder, and ordered them to commit seppuku. Oishi Kurenai and the 46 loyal samurai died as they lived in silence. Today, we remember them not as shadowy figures of vengeance, but as men who dared to defy the system, who stood up for what they believed in, even if it meant giving up their lives. In a world where silence could be deafening, they chose to speak up. In a world where honor was everything, they chose to live by their code. And in the end, they gave their all for the one thing that mattered most: loyalty. I've been to many samurai villages. They're carefully raked and swept. The gardens are trimmed just so. The houses are in regimented rows, the streets straight and clean. The pace of life there can feel quick. There's an etiquette you must observe. You have to watch your step. You have to speak carefully. You have to be precise, almost stiff. I love visiting these places, but I always feel as if I'm living someone else's history. And so let us drift northward now, away from the carefully raked gardens and rigid etiquette of samurai villages, to a different Japan altogether. A Japan unknown to most Japanese, a Japan few foreigners find, A Japan that may stir something deep within you, somewhere between memory and dream. Imagine yourself in a dense, mossy forest. The air here feels older, quieter. The trees are taller. Their bark is shaggy with age. The rivers run with a softness that invites reflection. Here, time seems to flow at its own pace. Here we are in Hokkaido, long before it bore that name. And here in the mist and snow lived a people who traced no ancestry to emperors or shogunates, the Ainu. The Ainu were not part of the Japanese feudal order. They did not follow Bushido or pay rice tax to Daimyo lords. Their lives were shaped by other rhythms, the migration of salmon, the flowering of wild herbs, the cycle of the bear. Their language, unrelated to Japanese, carries echoes of ancient roots that even modern scholars struggle to untangle. Archaeologists believe the Ainu may have arrived in Hokkaido as early as 13,000 years ago. That's 13,000 years of culture, tradition, and language, shaping and being shaped by this ancient land. We can't talk about the Ainu without talking about the bear. To the Ainu, the bear was more than just an animal. It was a teacher, a spirit, a way of life. When a bear was captured, it was not killed, but raised in the Ainu village. It was fed, sung to, and treated as an honored guest. The bear's spirit, they believed, could enter the body of a human and teach them its ways. The most famous Ainu bear festival is called Iamanti. During the ceremony, an Ainu man dresses as a bear, dancing and prancing around the village, keeping time with the drums. When the full moon rises, he enters a special bear house. He emerges, transformed, his face painted, his body adorned with bear claws and fangs. With each step he takes, the villagers chant and clap, guiding his every move. Finally, the transformation is complete. He becomes the bear. The climax comes when the bear dances under the full moon. In that moment, the bear's spirit is said to return to its original form, flying off into the night. To the Ainu, the bear symbolized strength, courage, and freedom. These values resonate deeply within me, especially during times when I feel weak, timid, or confined. I yearn for the spirit of the bear to guide me, to remind me of my own inner strength. As I stand here in Hokkaido, the land of the Ainu, I feel a profound connection to these ancient traditions. Though centuries apart, I find solace and inspiration in their stories, their art, and their indomitable spirit. In a world that often feels cold and unyielding, the warmth of their hospitality shines through. The rhythm of their lives, dictated by nature cycles, echoes the timeless wisdom I seek. And the reverence they held for all living beings mirrors the harmony I strive to find within myself and in this land. Hokkaido is much more than just a geographical location. It's a state of mind. It's a place where nature's embrace is profound and life's simplicity is profound. It's where ancient traditions whisper tales of resilience and where the spirit of the bear reminds us of our own inner strength. I hope you found some of that magic here today, and if you did, please share it with others. Help them find a little bit of that magic, too. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and join us back here next week for more journeys into the hidden Japan. Until then, take care and see you soon. To outside eyes, these rituals seemed foreign. Yet they were not wild nor cruel. They were complex expressions of gratitude, of reciprocity with the natural world. For centuries, the Ainu lived separately, peacefully. But in the Edo period and beyond, Japanese settlers began moving north. Borders were drawn. Customs were regulated. By the 19th century, the Ainu were formally classified as former Aborigines, a term that quietly erased their standing, their independence, and their identity. Their language declined. Their lands were taken, their ceremonies outlawed. And yet, like a low-burning ember, their culture did not disappear. In recent decades, scholars and activists, both Ainu and non-Ainu, have worked to preserve what remains. Museums now honor their tools and garments. Linguists record songs and prayers. And in the murmur of scientific journals, genetic research confirms what many had long suspected. The Ainu share distant ancestry with peoples of Siberia and the Arctic branches of humanity shaped by snow, not rice. Today, to walk through an Ainu village, real or reconstructed, is to step into an older Japan. One less visible, but no less real. A Japan of woven bark, carved prayer sticks, and slow dances by the fire. It is a culture that does not shout to be heard. Instead, it waits, quietly, patiently, like snowfall on cedar branches, waiting to be noticed. The Ainu are indigenous people of Japan. Their name means people in their language. And for thousands of years, they were the only people who lived there. The islands of Hokkaido and Sakhalin, the southern Kuriles and the Lietner Islands, were Ainu lands. They hunted wild boar and deer. They fished the coastal waters and gathered plants and berries. In the forests, they followed the paths made by animals. They took only what they needed and gave thanks for what they received. When the land provided an abundance of food, they celebrated with dances. These were not random acts of violence, nor primitive blood rituals. They were complex expressions of gratitude, of reciprocity with the natural world. In the mid-19th century, the Japanese government sought to erase them. First, their lands were taken, then their way of life. Traditional clothing was replaced with Japanese-style garments. Traditional housing was replaced with Japanese-style houses. And in its place, the Ainu language was replaced with Japanese. Non-Ainu settlers moved into the region, bringing their own customs and beliefs. Over time, borders were drawn, separating the Ainu from each other and from their ancestral lands. Hunting grounds became private property. Fishing rights were revoked. Religious practices were outlawed. Their ceremonies, which once maintained the balance of the natural world, were now conducted in secret. Yet despite the systematic efforts to erase them, the Ainu endured. Today, we can learn about their culture through the work of anthropologists, archaeologists, and activists who have worked to preserve it. We can see it in the small details of daily life, such as the importance of hot baths, the respect for elders, the value placed on hospitality, and the practice of putting on and taking off shoes when entering a home. We can also see it in their art, which often depicts animals and plants that are important to their culture. Their traditional diet consisted of wild plants, fish, and game. They lived in small settlements and were skilled hunters and gatherers. They used dogs to help them hunt and would often trade with other groups for goods that they could not obtain in their own territory. The Ainu people had a deep knowledge of the natural world around them, and this knowledge was passed down from generation to generation through stories and songs. This knowledge helped them to survive in a harsh environment and also shaped their worldview. But perhaps most importantly, the Ainu had a strong sense of community. They lived in small, close-knit groups and relied on each other for support. They had a deep respect for elders and a strong sense of responsibility to the community as a whole. The Ainu are an indigenous people who have lived in Japan for thousands of years. Despite the challenges they have faced, they have been able to preserve much of their culture and way of life. Their story is one of resilience and adaptability in the face of great adversity. The Ainu people are the indigenous people of Japan. They have a rich culture and history that dates back thousands of years. Despite the challenges they have faced, they have been able to preserve much of their culture and way of life. Their story is an important part of Japanese history, and their resilience in the face of adversity is truly inspiring. If you want to know more about the history of Japan, stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time. The 16th century was a time of great upheavals in Japan. The country had emerged from centuries of civil war only to face the threat of an invading force from the east. In this season of peril, a new warrior ethos took shape. one that prized tranquility and self-discipline as much as martial prowess. At the heart of this ethos was a practice known as shanoyu, or the way of tea. Let us now return to the heart of the samurai world, but not to its battlefield, nor even its village streets. Instead, let us step quietly into the inner chambers of a great lord's mansion. It is late afternoon. The light is soft and golden as it filters through narrow wooden slats. Beyond the garden walls, the world hums gently crickets in the grass, the faint rustle of bamboo leaves in the breeze. But inside all is still. You are about to witness a tea ceremony hosted by a Daimyo, a feudal lord of great standing. This is no ordinary cup of tea. It is chanoyu, the way of tea, a ritual shaped by centuries of discipline, aesthetic refinement, and spiritual subtlety. It is a performance, not for applause, but for presence. A quiet unfolding of gestures that, together, offer more than refreshment. They offer a moment of harmony. The room is small, humble by design. Just 4.5 tatami mats. Its walls are plain, its ornaments sparse, perhaps a single scroll calligraphed with a Zen verse, and a flower arrangement set slightly off-center to invite contemplation. The host enters silently, every motion kneeling, bowing, lifting the lid of the iron kettle is deliberate, yet unforced. The water does not boil, but murmurs. The steam curls like smoke from incense. Before you lies the chowan, the tea bowl. It is earthy, slightly imperfect, chosen precisely for its asymmetry, its quiet beauty. Wabi-sabi, the appreciation of transience and imperfection. You receive the bowl with both hands, bowing slightly. You turn it once, twice, then raise it slowly to your lips. The tea is thick, bitter, slightly sweet, not made to please, but to ground you in the moment. This is not merely a beverage. It is a meditation on life itself. Chanui, often translated as the way of tea, is more accurately rendered as tea as a way. Rooted in Zen Buddhism, it transforms the simple act of preparing and drinking tea into a profound ritual. Born in the 12th century during the Kamakura shogunate, it evolved over the next 400 years, taking shape in the hands of monks and samurai. By the 16th century, it was a well-established practice. By the 17th century, it would give way to elaborate schools and conventions, each with its own subtle codes and gestures. The most prominent, the Omotsink and Urusink, trace their lineage directly to Sen no Rikyu, a pivotal figure who synthesized the disparate elements into a coherent whole. His approach, summarized in the dictum harmony, respect, purity, tranquility, remains foundational. Harmony, expressed in the meticulous arrangement of the room, the tea set, and the very placement of flowers, which are deliberately not cut straight to express their natural droop or forward lean. Respect, evident in every gesture of deference to host and guest, in the careful preparation of the tea, and in the quiet dignity of the space itself. Purity, found in the cleanliness of the utensils, the disciplined restraint of the host, and the clear, uncluttered space that invites contemplation. Tranquility, perhaps the most elusive, is the atmosphere that pervades the tea room, a stillness that settles over the participants, inviting them to shed the weight of the world outside. In the 19th century, amidst the tumultuous changes brought by modernization, the tea ceremony took on added significance as a way to preserve tradition and continuity. Today, it continues to evolve, adapting to changing times while staying true to its core principles. Whether in its traditional setting or adapted for contemporary spaces, the tea ceremony remains an invitation to pause, to connect, and to find harmony in the everyday. And with that, our journey through time comes to an end. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to stay tuned for more historical tales. Until then, may your days be filled with a little more harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. In a world where every action is observed, every movement judged, how does one attain mastery? By understanding the language of the subtle, the nuanced, the seemingly insignificant. Welcome to Samurai and Geisha, where honor and beauty intertwine. You enter the room, the paper sliding door offering a glimpse into a world of tranquility. There, seated on a cushion, is a master of tea, a sensei. Time seems to pause as you take in the scene before you. No one speaks. Words are not forbidden, but unnecessary. The host's actions speak volumes, each movement precise, each gesture laden with meaning. First, the utensils. With careful grace, the host wipes them, not just to clean, but to present. The chasen, a whisk of finely carved bamboo, is rinsed. Its delicate dance in the water, a silent serenade. Then it is replaced, each movement echoing the reverence held for this ancient practice. Every item has its place. Every movement is guided not by habit, but by reverence. The host's attire is a testament to this. A katen, a traditional Japanese garment, donned with precision, each fold, each tie a silent ode to tradition. Across from you, the Daimyo, a lord of great influence, sits composed and still, his presence commanding respect. His kimono, of rich yet muted fabric, barely stirs. A deeper blue, a midnight sky, it speaks of loyalty and perseverance. His face, however, remains an enigma, unreadable behind the soft drape of his sleeves. Yet in this very stillness, an entire conversation unfolds. One about restraint, respect, and the weight of position. Power, it seems, is not declared here. It is implied. Through etiquette, through stillness, through control. The world outside this room remains rigid. Hierarchies loom large. Peasants toil. Laws are enforced with samurai precision. But here, in this quiet room, time seems to soften. Even a lord must bow to tradition. Even he must listen. Listen to water pouring, to breath between sips, to the rustling of a robe against tatami. The room itself is a poem, its beauty enhanced by the ephemeral art of flower arrangement. A single branch of plum blossoms, a symbol of resilience, finding beauty in stark landscapes. The petals, soft yet defiant, echo the strength found in quiet resistance. As the tea is served, the host's hands, gnarled with age, yet steady in their movements, offer more than just a drink. They offer a legacy, a connection to the past. The matcha, a vibrant green, swirls in the bowl, a miniature landscape of its own. Each movement of the whisk creating a design, a fleeting work of art. The first taste is bitter, a reminder of life's challenges. Yet as it lingers on the tongue, a sweetness emerges, a testament to the rewards of patience and discipline. Finally, the ceremony ends. You step back into the corridor. The light is fading. Servants glide past with lanterns, their steps silent, their movements fluid. Somewhere in the distance, a flute plays faintly, rising and falling like a sigh in the evening air. As you walk through the mansion's long wooden halls, you realize nothing in this world is unobserved. Every act is watched, judged, measured not by efficiency, but by grace. In this world, silence speaks volumes. Walls have ears, tatami have eyes, and tea holds the weight of centuries. This is samurai and geisha, where honor and beauty intertwine. And if you want to be part of this world, we invite you to follow along. For here, in the land of the rising sun, tradition is not just preserved, it's lived, breathed, and passed on. Because true mastery lies not in grand displays of power, but in the quiet, graceful observation of the world around you. Until next time, train well and be observant. For in the world of samurai and geisha, every detail matters. Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to look at some of the key characteristics of the Japanese samurai village. So without further ado, let's dive right in. The year is 1868, and the mighty shogun Tokugawa has just kicked the bucket. After more than 2 centuries of peace and prosperity under the mighty Tokugawa shogunate, a new era is dawning for Japan. But you wouldn't know it here, in our humble village. Life goes on pretty much as it always has. The sun rises over the distant mountains, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange. Villagers start their day with a simple breakfast of rice and fish, their hands moving with practiced grace as they prepare their tools for the day ahead. Out in the fields, the air is alive with the buzz of insects and the distant call of a heron. Men, women, and children work side by side, their movements a silent ballet as they tend to the crops that will sustain them through the year. The rhythm of life here is ancient, unchanging, as eternal as the seasons themselves. Life in the village is not all work and no play. When the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the land, the villagers come together. Children chase fireflies in the twilight, their laughter echoing through the gathering dusk. Old men sit on rickety porches, sharing stories and sipping green tea, their voices a low murmur in the stillness. And then there are the samurai and their retainers, living in a different world, yet part of this one. They move with a different kind of grace, their steps precise, their gestures economical, their speech laced with honorifics. They are the enforcers of order, the guardians of tradition, their presence a constant reminder of the values that hold the society together. Now let's talk about death. In the Japanese samurai village, death is not an unwelcome guest, but a familiar companion. It is woven into the fabric of daily life. Villagers live simple, honest lives, working the land, raising families, honoring their ancestors. Death is a part of this cycle, a natural transition that is neither feared nor avoided. Funerals are somber affairs, filled with rituals and traditions that have stood the test of time. The dead are treated with respect and dignity, their bodies prepared with care before being laid to rest. Even in death, there is a sense of community, a coming together of families and friends to support one another through a difficult time. The cycle of life and death is respected. Death is not the end, but a passage to the next stage of existence. The villagers live with this truth, finding solace in the knowledge that death is not something to be feared, but a natural part of the journey. What did the typical day look like for a member of the different social classes? For the peasants, the day began at dawn with chores around the house and land. Men, women, and children worked tirelessly to produce enough food and fiber for their survival. The samurai followed a strict code of conduct, balancing administrative duties with training in martial arts, study of literature and philosophy, and preparation for battle if needed. Merchants and artisans had their own codes to uphold, balancing the pursuit of profit with ethical conduct and contributing to the community. Each group's daily life revolved around their role in the social hierarchy, contributing to the overall harmony of the village. So that's a wrap on our whirlwind tour of the Japanese samurai village. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the past. Thanks for joining me on this journey through time. See you next time.